Welcome to episode 20. Stop malware early using layered protective defenses. The promise today is a preventative, detective, and responsive stack tuned for the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS, so you stop commodity threats quickly and catch advanced attempts before they reach payment systems. We focus on practical moves that reduce exposure first, detect misbehavior second, and respond with clean evidence and calm execution when something slips through. The aim is not to install every tool. It is to run a small number of controls that reinforce each other and leave artifacts an assessor can follow. When defenses are layered, measured, and documented, infections become noisy detours rather than business-stopping events. That is how you protect cardholder data and pass tough reviews without drama.
Begin by defining the coverage scope in plain words so the program knows exactly what protected includes. Servers that run payment applications and databases sit at the center, followed by endpoints where administrators work and any back-office systems that touch support tools or analytics near payment flows. Point-of-sale devices and kiosks belong in scope for malware discussion even when their platforms constrain software choices, because behavior controls, update integrity, and physical checks still matter. Supporting administrative workstations deserve equal attention since a phished admin often becomes the first hop toward the cardholder data environment. Speak this scope aloud and attach owners to each class. Scope clarity prevents gaps from hiding behind assumed protection and lets you prioritize where to harden first.
Reputable anti-malware remains a baseline, but it only earns its place when engines and signatures update rapidly and results are watched. Choose a platform with real-time protection, automatic content updates, and transparent versioning you can prove on any host at any time. Enforce update windows short enough that new content arrives daily, and keep a small dashboard that shows coverage by version across servers and endpoints. Tie quarantines and detections to tickets so nothing lives as a silent notification. Under assessment, the safe evidence is simple. A few host screenshots with timestamps, a central console report showing current content, and a sample investigation that closed with dates and names. Basic does not mean weak when it is fresh, visible, and tied to action. Add behavior-based detection and application allowlisting to block unknown or unsigned executables before signatures exist. Behavior engines watch what code does, not just what it is called, and they spot privilege abuse, script spawn chains, and persistence tricks that static tools miss. Allowlisting flips the model by permitting only approved binaries and scripts to run in defined zones, which is especially powerful on servers, kiosks, and point-of-sale cores where software should change rarely. Keep the allowlist governance lightweight and versioned, with an approval note that names why each item is allowed and how long it remains valid. The pair behavior plus allowlist turns 0 day from panic into a log denial that your team can review in daylight. Scripts and interpreters are common delivery systems, so restrict engines and macros to approved, monitored business uses. Disable Office macros by default and re-enable only for signed sources that a named owner maintains. Constrain shell and script interpreters so they run only from trusted paths and for trusted users, and block unsigned code where the platform supports it. On servers, remove or disable language runtimes that the stack does not require. On endpoints, use device management to push restrictive policies with clear exception paths and expiry dates. Monitoring should flag unexpected script engine launches, especially when chained from email clients or browsers. These are small rules that take big teeth from common attacks. Remove local administrator rights broadly and require elevation workflows for installation or configuration actions. Least privilege is the cheapest control you will ever deploy, and it pays off every day. Use a broker that grants just-in-time elevation with approval, logs what elevated users do, and expires access automatically. On servers, bind administrative shells to named roles with multi-factor authentication, MFA. On endpoints, make elevation requests visible to security and IT so patterns of unnecessary installs appear quickly. When malware lands on a user system, the lack of admin rights often turns a disaster into a closed ticket with a short note. Privilege that is rare, loud, and temporary is privilege that works for you, not against you. Deep visibility complements prevention. Monitor processes, key registry or configuration locations, scheduled tasks, and common persistence mechanisms with alert rules tuned to your stack. Pair host telemetry with network events so you can stitch together the story of a blocked or allowed action across layers. Keep the rule set small, meaningful, and versioned, and review hits weekly with someone empowered to tune or retire noisy detections. Evidence lives in two places: the rule definitions and a short case report that shows how a suspicious chain was investigated to a clean conclusion. Visibility without ownership is noise. Ownership turns noise into assurance. When detections occur, quarantine first, then investigate and document with clear containment and eradication steps. Quarantine can mean isolating the host on the network, killing a process, or moving a file to a secure location for analysis, depending on the class of system. Record what triggered the action, which artifacts were collected, and how you verified that no persistence survived. For servers in the cardholder data environment, lean toward rebuild from known good images after triage rather than hand cleaning. Close each event with a small lessons learned line. What controls stopped the threat, what could have caught it sooner, and what baseline change will prevent a repeat. This habit builds both safety and better evidence. Point-of-sale and kiosk devices require special treatment because software options are often constrained. Where full anti-malware agents are unsupported, enforce allowlisting, lock down images, signed update channels, and strict peripheral controls. Validate that vendor patches come through authenticated paths and run periodic file integrity checks to detect unauthorized changes. Add physical inspection routines and tamper-evident measures where devices sit in public spaces, and store photographs or checklists with dates and signatures. An assessor expects to see alternative controls stated clearly, with proof that they run on a cadence and produce alerts when something deviates. Integrate detections with incident response, ticketing, and evidence capture so everything you do is audit-ready by default. Detections should open tickets automatically, carry host and user identifiers, and attach relevant logs and screenshots without manual hunting. Incident responders should follow a short runbook that names who to notify, where to store evidence, and how to label artifacts so a reviewer can follow the timeline later. When your response system stitches events, approvals, and containment together in one place, you reduce toil and increase trust. The best kind of audit trail is the one you already used to solve the problem. Test the stack the way attackers do. Run periodic simulations that deliver benign executables, scripts, and macro payloads along the paths your users take: email, chat, downloads, and removable media, and record which controls triggered and how quickly. Invite a red team exercise that targets administrative workstations and attempts lateral movement toward the cardholder data environment, with strict guardrails and pre-agreed evidence capture. Each test should end with a short change: a tuned rule, a removed permission, or an improved runbook step. Testing is not theater. It is how you turn assumptions into measurable confidence. Review coverage and gaps quarterly, adjusting controls for new techniques and newly exposed surfaces. Inventory where prevention runs, where behavior analytics run, where allowlisting runs, and where you still tolerate exceptions. Compare your last 6 months of detections to your control map. Did most events die at email and web gateways, or did you spend time cleaning endpoints that should have been locked down? Update baselines when you find drift, and push those changes into images and configuration management so improvements survive the next rebuild. This rhythm keeps your program current without requiring a reinvention every year. Keep the lens tied to PCI DSS and to evidence. The standard expects you to prevent, detect, and respond to malware, and to show that updates, scans, and actions occur on a cadence with owners and dates. Your stack meets those expectations when tools update quickly, all lists are governed, privileges are rare, detections create tickets, and responses leave artifacts. Auditors respond well to small, dated packets: a console report, a blocked sample, a quarantine log, a rebuild ticket, and a lessons learned note. You do not need sweeping prose. You need repeatable actions that write their own history. Close today by scheduling a malware control health check and one controlled simulation this week. For the health check, pick the administrative workstation group and one class of payment servers. Pull a current coverage report, verify update currency and policy versions, and open tickets for any hosts that lag. For the simulation, deliver a harmless test file through email and a signed macro through a cloud share to a non-production user group. Then measure which controls triggered and how response unfolded. Capture the artifacts, tune one rule or privilege setting based on the results, and store everything where your assessment evidence lives. Small, scheduled moves like these are how layered defenses stay sharp, and how your program proves again and again that malware only gets a short, noisy visit. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.